Hello, everybody, and welcome to Nathan on Shuffle. And I just thought I'd do a quick episode here just because I wanted to put something out this week. And it's something I've been thinking about a lot as I've been planning some of my upcoming concerts this year. I thought I'd give a little bit of a concert wish list or a bucket list of like the bands that I really would love to see in concert. And just kind of give a quick rundown of what I think the chances are of being able to see them live, why I'm so interested in seeing them, and what I think it could be like. And just to kind of give a rundown of some of the big events that I'm looking forward to this year and in the near future. So that's what I'm planning here. Really, what sparks this off is that I have a cruise that I'm going to, Cruise to the Edge, which I'm really excited about. And it's really knocking off the list, like, several of the bands that I've really been wanting to see for a long time, because all of my favorite bands seemingly are on board, and this will be the first time I get to see Moon Safari, which would certainly have been on my bucket list. I get to see Thank You Scientist, which has been a big one. I did see Thank You Scientist on a previous cruise, but it was like before they really came out with many of their major albums. They were just starting out as a new band, and I'm really excited to see them in kind of their modern iteration with all of this kind of legacy behind them, the later albums that they've come out with. So that's exciting to see them on board. Pure Reason Revolution I thought was really cool. Car Mechanic, Von Hertzen Brothers, Temic, IQ, Pendragon, Leprous, Kairos, Magic Pie, Caligula's Horse. These are all artists I've never seen live that I absolutely adore and love. And then, of course, repeat concerts from bands I've seen before, but just love to see them as many times as possible, like Big Big Train and Haken, Riverside. DiVirgilio Morrison Jennings was just announced, so that's going to be kind of a fun new addition to the cruise. Beardfish I've seen before, but it's been a while, so it'll be cool to see them in a newer iteration with kind of their, now that they've reunited and are starting back up again. So those are some of the bands that I'm excited to see on the cruise. And of course there's other ones that I didn't mention, Gazpacho, Saga, the list goes on and on, the Aristocrats. There's so many great artists that, I'm a little bit concerned if I'm going to be able to actually see all of these concerts. I'm going to try my best to catch all of the major ones, but it's kind of hard to be able to catch it when there's so many things going on at the same time and limited window to see all of this stuff. But I'm excited about that. I'm also really excited that I'm going to get to see Dream Theater in February, and it's their 40th anniversary tour. It's the return of Mike Portnoy, so that's kind of a dream concert that I wanted to see. I'm taking my dad along to see that one. It's playing very locally here, like about 20 to 30 minutes away from me. So I'm really excited for that one coming up in mid-February. And I've seen Dream Theater before, but I thought this was kind of a special experience to see them. And so I'm really excited for that one. So those are really the two that I have for sure on my calendar. And it may come as no surprise, or maybe it comes as some surprise. I don't know. I've kind of talked maybe a little bit about it in other episodes, that I struggle with going to concerts a little bit because I'm not really very outgoing in my normal life. I'm very quiet and reserved, and I have a lot of anxiety about being in social settings. So being in a concert venue is kind of a difficult situation for me to navigate because you're dealing with a lot of crowds, with a lot of interactions, and there's often unruly concert goers that can kind of ruin the experience if you're going to the wrong kind of concerts or with the wrong kind of crowds. I've been to concerts with people just trying to cause havoc, trying to be a bit more rowdy, and that's just not my vibe. That's not how I enjoy concerts. I tend to like to sit back and just let the music wash over me, which is probably a little bit strange when my primary love of music is in rock music, and sometimes it can be quite heavy, and people, of course, want to get up and headbang and, move around to the music, and I just don't really care for that. I don't want to go to a concert where I'm standing the whole time because it's just not as pleasant of an experience from my perspective, and oftentimes I'm trying to come up with concerts that I take my dad to, and he just can't do that physically for a 3-hour concert. We need a seated venue and a place where we can actually watch it from a comfort of a seat. So And if everyone's standing in front of us, even if we do have a seat, it's just you don't get a good view of it, and it just makes for a less than optimal experience. So all these different factors. The other factor, of course, is that I have to travel into LA to see a lot of the shows, and I just don't like going into downtown LA. It's just kind of a sketchy area and not very safe oftentimes, and it's hard to find parking, and of course the traffic is just a nightmare. So it takes a lot for me to consider going to a concert, especially in LA. It has to be like the right set of circumstances. So that's kind of where this list came from. I have a list of 10 artists that I would probably brave these conditions to go see. Artists that I either haven't seen before or have seen before, but in a different context, or, haven't seen them in long enough that I feel like it would be kind of a new experience. And I basically just went through my favorite bands list and just picked out the ones that I haven't seen in concert yet. There's 2 artists I'd love to take my dad to see in particular that I keep waiting because I think they're going to come around me at some point because they tour a lot. One is Steve Hackett. I just haven't been able to get my dad to a Steve Hackett show, and I know he'd love it because he's a huge classic Genesis fan, so it seems like a no-brainer, and he comes around all the time. He's touring constantly, just the dates never seem to line up and work out. My dad has his own band that he gigs with over the weekends, so anytime there's a concert on like a Saturday night or something, my dad usually is unavailable and can't go, so we have to find one that's like middle of the week, and sometimes it's hard to line up our schedules. The other one I'd love to take my dad to is John Anderson and the Band Geeks, which are actually coming very close to us soon, but unfortunately it's the same week that I'm leaving for Cruise to the Edge, so that's not going to work out either. Maybe my dad will go without me, maybe take my mom to that one. I'm going to suggest it at some point, but can't go with him to that one, which is kind of a shame. So, but these are some of my top tier artists. You may not be familiar with all of these because some are quite obscure. And I'm going to basically just talk through like the feasibility. Some of these artists, there's probably literally no chance to see them live for me, but I just wanted to mention them in some fashion. So the Deer Hunter is high on my list. They're one of my favorite artists, one of my favorite modern bands, and there's a good likelihood that they will come around my area. They tour around here pretty often, but like I was saying at the beginning of the video, sometimes it's in less than reputable venues. It's places that I don't really want to go to if I don't have to, standing room only, small clubs, things like that. And things that I wouldn't feel comfortable taking my dad to, so I'd probably end up having to go alone or have to drag my wife to it. But I may consider it because I really love the band. They're one of my probably top 5 favorite bands currently active. And I saw them live on a previous cruise, Progressive Nation at Sea cruise back in like 2014. But that was like before they put out some of their major albums that I actually love from them, like Act 4 and 5. Also, Antimai. I'd love to see them play some of that material, which I've never seen them play live. And, it was a shortened cruise concert. And I remember at the cruise concert, Jana came with me, but the sound was too loud for her. She left early. And so it was just kind of a weird experience. And I just want to kind of give them another chance and be able to see them live because I know they do really good live. The second one on my list, which is very likely and possibly could even happen this year, is Steven Wilson. And I've seen him with Porcupine Tree. Me and my dad went to the Porcupine Tree show that was here in LA not too long ago. But I've never seen Steven Wilson solo, which I think would be a really cool experience. And he's touring the Overview album, and he actually just announced North American tour dates. So I'm looking into if I can go to the LA one that he announced. It's like going to take place in September, I believe. So I'm looking into that one, seeing if my dad might be interested in that one. It's very much a possibility. Once again, I have to decide if it's worth going into LA, and I have to think about, do I have to take off time from work and all this kind of other factors, but that's one I'm heavily considering. Another band that I absolutely love that I've never seen live is The Reign of Kendo, kind of a personal favorite of mine. Once again, more prog adjacent than full-on prog, but I love the band. They're kind of more in a jazz rock vein. They came around once. I think they toured with Deer Hunter recently, which would have been a dream lineup, but they were only in the East Coast basically. But I believe they've performed here, so the chance of them coming around is pretty likely. But I just have to wait for the right chance, the right opportunity to arrive for that one. So that would be high on my list as well. Now we get into some of the more like dream scenarios. And I'm only putting on this list like active bands. Like I don't want to put like, oh, I wish I could see the original lineup of, Pink Floyd or the classic lineup of Yes or whatever. I'm really only counting artists that are actually current bands that are possibly going to tour in their current iteration. You know what I mean? So I have Frost on my list. I'd love to see Frost live. I'm a little worried if Life in the Wires was kind of the end for them as a band, their final statement. I don't know if they have plans to tour. And if they do tour, it probably won't be in my neck of the woods, obviously. Probably the most likely scenario is them getting on to like the Cruise to the Edge and me going to see them on that. So that's a possibility in the future. But, it might be hard for that to happen because I'm kind of treating this cruise in particular. And I said this last year and I'm still ending up on this one, but I'm kind of treating this Cruise to the Edge as kind of my final experience, at least for the time being. I just can't financially keep going to Cruise to the Edge year after year after year. And I have to, go to other vacations. I think it's hard on my wife that I'm monopolizing our vacations by going to Prog cruises, which she enjoys and loves going to, but there's other things that she would love to do for vacation, and I only have a limited amount of vacation time for my work to be able to utilize. So it might be a while before we return to Cruise to the Edge. We'll see. Another dream scenario one for me is Dirtport Robins, another more obscure band that I really like. But I don't think they really tour. Maybe they've done a couple smatterings of live dates, like locally where they live, kind of more in the East Coast of the U.S. But it would be awesome to be able to see them. Similar to the Deer Hunter, they kind of have that indie prog aesthetic, kind of a modern group that has little similar qualities to a lot of the prog bands I love and plays with genre and just a cool niche band that works in concepts and themes. So I'd love to see them if there's some capacity that I could see them. Pattern Seeking Animals is a band I'd love to see live. I know they've performed a little bit, maybe at like a couple festivals, a couple dates and things, maybe more East Coasty. And once again, they're probably a likely one to go on to a future like Cruise to the Edge, would probably be my best chance of seeing them. This one's maybe a possibility. I mean, a lot of these guys are from my neck of the woods. A lot of them are from California. So if they were to do kind of a local concert, it might take place not too far from me. So there's some chances here, but I really love Pattern Seeking Animals. They're one of my favorite modern iterations. It's kind of like Spock's Beard, but in a different formation. It has a lot of the same guys from Spock's Beard, which is one of my all-time favorite groups. So definitely would have a lot of fun seeing them if they came around in some capacity. I put on my list Arion or anything Arjen Lucassen related because I'm just a huge, massive fan of Arjen Lucassen and his various projects. And they do like this yearly huge event concert usually over in Arjen's neck of the woods, like in the Netherlands or whatever, which it's unlikely that I'll ever be able to go do something like that. But, if this is my dream list, I got to include that. Include Arion Project at some capacity. Mirror is one of my new favorite bands that I've talked a lot about on the channel. Their latest album, Wheels Within Wheels, is my favorite album of 2024. And I'd love to see them live. Once again, similar to some of these other artists, it would be probably on a cruise or some kind of festival. They wouldn't probably tour like in the LA area, obviously. But it would be cool to see them, like, if I ever went on a future cruise, they'd be a huge draw if they were. They seem like the perfect band to include on, like, on a future Cruise to the Edge, I think. And then I have in my list Echoland, which just came out. They just came out with a great double album, basically, 2 albums at once. I don't know if they're even touring anymore or if they even have plans to tour. I have kind of an inkling that they plan to just be a studio project from now forward. But if they ever did tour, they would be an incredible one to see live. One of my favorite acts, one of the most underrated progressive rock bands in the modern era, I would say. And the last band I have on my list is Wobbler, who I would love to see also. I love their brand of Norwegian prog, and it would just be fun to see them. And once again, that would be kind of a probably a cruise ship kind of thing if they did come over to the States in some capacity. Probably not to my neck of the woods. So those are the bands I'm kind of that are floating around in my top tiers. And that are still active, and there's a possibility that I could see them in some future capacity. I don't know. I was just formulating this list because I was kind of thinking to myself how this year, seeing all these bands on Cruise to the Edge, and then seeing Dream Theater with this great legendary reunion, and possibly seeing Steven Wilson later in the year, could this be like the close to my concert going experience? Have I seen all the things that I would love to see out there? And of course, I'm not closing the chapter on concert going at all, but I don't go to every concert that's around in my area. I'm very particular and picky. If Neil Morse comes in any capacity, I'm there no matter what. That's kind of one of my rules. My rules for concert going moving forward are, if it's a Neil Morse related project that's near me, I'm going to go no matter what venue, no matter where it is. I'm just a super fan, so I'm just willing to travel locally to be able to see him in whatever project he's currently touring with. The other one is if it's a band that I think my dad would really enjoy. I love going to concerts with him, and so as long as my dad's still around, I'm going to be interested in any show that I can take him to and not feel uncomfortable about, is it going to be a weird venue? Is it going to be all standing room? I have to find the right events, but when we find the right event, it's really fun, and he enjoys, obviously, a lot of the same music as me. We recently saw the Musical Box Genesis tribute, which was a fabulous one to go with him too. So looking for more things like that locally. And like I said, that's why I would think Steve Hackett would be a great option. Of course, would love to take him to see John Anderson, or any iteration of Yes would be awesome. And then the third option is if it's any of these like wish list bands that I feel like I can't miss out on. So those are really the three factors that I'll go to see concerts for, but otherwise I'm very hesitant, and it has to be kind of the right setting and circumstance because of my anxiety and because of my reservations, and just not being your typical concert going rock fan. I just like to sit in and enjoy the music. Sometimes that's easier to do from home, just listening to an album on my turntable, or putting on a live Blu-ray and being able to experience it from the comfort of my living room is kind of my favorite experience of concert watching. So let me know in the comments. This is a good one to turn over to you guys and see your thoughts, what your experience is going to concerts, and if you have any planned for this year, if you have a bucket list of active bands that you're really looking forward to seeing at some point in the future, or if you have any rules for yourself of what kind of shows you're willing to go to. I'd be interested to hear people's thoughts on this, and just thought it would be a fun little off-the-cuff show. Hopefully you appreciated it, and I'll be coming at you later this week with a cool Dream Theater review, which I'm looking forward to putting out there. But for now, thank you guys, and keep enjoying the music out there, whether it's at concerts or just at your home. Enjoy it. Thank you guys, and I'll see you in a future episode. Bye, everybody.